Hello, M.
Hey, B,
I have an O.
you have a what?
An O.
Like, oh my god?
No, not God. I have a friend here. Oh, hi, O.
Yeah, I suppose that's me.
Yeah, you're supposing correctly. O.
Yeah, I'm against referring to our guests as letters. I think it's inappropriate, and so and also his name is pretty good. I think.
Yeah, I also think that referring to our guests with a single letter is disrespectful. So, O, what is your real name?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to pronounce in English, so it's Ognjen.
Give us a nick.
Ogi.
Okay, Ogri. And welcome to our podcast.
So that would be OGY, right?
I guess
well,
so.
OG.
Or
OG.
I had my nickname spelled by some guest to some website because of the font. I was called Ognjen because there was like a space between letters in the font. But yeah, let's stick to Ogi.
That works.
Ogi will be just fine.
But I'd rather translate the name to English so that people actually know
Yeah.
your name has quite a sound to it. I think the best translation would be something like fiery.
Yeah, probably.
Blazing.
Blazing.
Yeah.
Blazing, well, I think it would be next level.
True. But I also like Ognjen the Space Wizard.
Why space?
What are we talking about?
Well, Og space Gen the Wizard, so Ognjen the Space Wizard.
Okay.
Get it?
Okay.
Get it?
Okay.
Maybe it's
okay.
false logic, maybe not.
Oh yeah. So anyway, Ogi is a writer for a Serbian magazine, The World of Computers, and he is a bit of a aficionado and a specialist in old video games. Am I right, Ogi?
Yeah, you can say so.
Did you say old video games?
Yeah. You know the good video games? Those.
Yeah, but how old are we talking about?
Yeah, well, you can start with Commodore 64, so that's
Oh,
what we are talking about.
those
Yeah,
games.
yeah.
Yeah, you know what? The first game I've ever played was on a Spectrum. Augie, you probably know what that is if you,
Yeah, of course.
do old games. B, I'm not sure if you know, but that's like the oldest computer that you had here.
Yeah.
And the first game I've played was called Planetoid.
Is that where you're like a little ship that shoots at asteroids and breaks them apart?
Yes, absolutely.
Oh, I guessed it.
Yeah, you guessed it. I thought you knew what that is.
I played a similar game on PC and I simply took a jab at it and I scored.
Yeah. I think that's the first game I've ever played.
Shot in the dark. By the way, before we go on, I want to tell our audience that you see, in olden times, games were two-dimensional, Like, there wasn't third dimension at all. So it is a bit of a cultural shift to actually enter our world of two-dimensional video games.
Yeah, nowadays you have to tell that game is 2D, like a feature. But in those days, there was like, you would put 3D in the game title, and that would be something awesome. And furthermore,
Yep.
it wouldn't be real 3D like nowadays. It would probably just some isometric view
Oh, yeah.
or something like that. That would just look like it's, vector 3D.
Or I don't know how it's called. I know how it's called. It's called like using sprites in a 3D environment. They like doing that in Might and Magic 6 and, for example, Warhammer Dark Omen. Like, you would have a 3D environment, like the battle terrain or a dungeon, but all the monsters or units were simply 2D sprites. And it worked. It actually worked. And for a time, it was very pretty looking, and it didn't age ghastly as early 3D games did.
Yeah, all the early first-person shooters were like that.
Oh, yeah. Like Doom and Castle Wolfenstein.
It's just Wolfenstein.
Oh yeah, no. The Castle Wolfenstein is a new game, but still, it's a good
That's-
one. It's still a
FYI,
yeah.
Wolfenstein is the first 3D game I've played.
Yeah, I think
And then it was Doom.
Yeah, I think that's how. It's how they were released. The first there was Wolfenstein, that the Doom.
Oh yeah, those are actually like the
You
first.
played it in order.
Yeah, and those were the first 3D games, right? That were globally published, as far as we know.
Yeah, first-person shooters.
Weaklings.
Yeah.
Weaklings, both of you. Just 2 words. Heretic, and Hexen.
Oh well.
Yeah, that came later.
We just played different games.
Yeah, but
which is fun.
But it was more fun and prettier and fantastic.
Actually, I tried Might and Magic 6 since you mentioned it. I tried it with 3D glasses, like in 2000 or 2001 or something like that. There were like those 3D glasses, not like VR headsets that are popular nowadays. So you had to look at the screen with the glasses. So the monitor, the display was, when you looked at it, you saw the third dimension. So you didn't have VR set to look around you.
Yeah.
But when you looked at the screen, you saw 3D. And even those...
Was it any good?
Yeah, it was great. I remember playing Roll Cage, for example, also Might and Magic 6. And although those were sprites, even sprites got a little bit like they're in 3D as well, for some reason. So it was actually pretty cool.
But playing Might and Magic 6 in 3D is sort of like playing Pac-Man in 3D. I mean, not exactly, but close enough. I mean, it wouldn't be one of my top choices for a 3D game, for 3D glasses,
Yeah, but it was installed on that computer, and so yeah, let's try it. And much worse is what my friend did. He wanted to watch that Piranha, like that horror movie, and he couldn't find the proper torrent, so he found the version which was hand recorded in a cinema, and he recorded 3D version of the movie. Well, he downloaded 3D version of the movie, and he watched it without 3D glasses. So I cannot imagine how it looked like.
Did he?
For the purpose of clarifying, in the geographical area where we live in, it is actually perfectly normal to not pay for things, but rather try to find a torrent to download. That doesn't mean that's what we're doing here.
Oh no,
but,
not at all.
There is such a saying called the quote-unquote Serbian 100% discount on all content or software.
Well, we do not approve of this practice, of course.
Well, the thing is, we grew up basically running pirated operating systems. Like personally, I've bought every single operating system I have right now, and it costs a lot. But to me personally, it's a tribute to all the fees I haven't paid when I was starting with computers, since we all had hacked Windows operating systems everywhere.
By the way, do you know that second channel of mine where I shoot with my smartphone, just my hands?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, anyway.
You have another life?
Another channel.
Is that okay?
Yes, I have a secret identity as a non-mouse. And anyway, I always shoot everything in one take. And the reason behind that is I asked a couple of YouTubers what software do they use for video editing.
Yep.
Yeah, and one of these girls said like, oh, I use Vegas Pro. And I'm like, okay, I'll get it. And they checked the price. It was $800. It was 2 of my monthly salaries. And that is why I always shoot everything in one take.
Yeah, so just so that we're clear, if you were on a Mac, the built-in movie editor would be more than enough. It's great.
Okay,
for beginners.
Okay, seriously, Trigger, right now, can I jump in? You
because you paid a bunch of money for the Mac.
Yeah,
I'm just saying,
yeah. You didn't solve anything.
It is what it is. It is what it is. But you can go for a cheaper tool that's also great. For example, Camtasia.
I never heard of it.
It's still expensive, but
Thanks you for you not solving my problem.
Anywho, since we're at old games, one thing that I wanted to mention, and I'm not sure if you guys ever had the chance to play games like that, but do you know what console games are?
I might have heard of them.
Yeah, we know that those are games which we couldn't ever afford here.
Oh yeah! Oh great description. Yeah. One notable exception. Unless it was one of those crappy 9,999 video games collections on those fake Sega Mega Drives.
Yeah, which you could buy on flea market or something like that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but back in the day, you had what we called video clubs where you would rent movies on tapes, but then also they started basically becoming the first gaming hubs, right? Where they would buy a couple of Sega Mega Drive 2 and you would play something like Mortal Kombat, or I don't know what kind of games were popular back then. Do you remember that period? It's like the 90s or something?
Yeah, of course I remember. But from what I can recall, you only had two consoles, Sega Mega and later on Sony PlayStation. You basically didn't have Nintendo consoles.
Actually, I think there was Sega and Nintendo.
Yeah, exactly. Nintendo was, I believe, the first console.
Really?
Yes.
In our clubs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't
okay.
remember renting games to play in clubs, actually. I don't think in my video clubs they did such thing.
Yeah, but are you also aware of something called command line games or terminal games? Do you know what that is?
No.
Command line games.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Okay, I remember. Yes, I know.
Yeah, maybe. I have two, clues about what we're talking about. Maybe I'm not right.
Try to guess.
Yeah, so they had 0 dimensions in terms of they were not they are not, because they also exist today. They're not graphical games. They're games you would play. For example, back in the day, it was MS-DOS.
Okay.
Which, if you remember when Windows 95 got out, in order for you to run Windows 95, you have to start your computer. You would boot into MS-DOS, and then you would type Win95 to start the graphical operating system, which is the game changer Windows 95. But you could do a lot of things in MS-DOS as well. It had a text editor.
Yeah.
Many people actually, I think, for example, George R. Martin, who is the author of Song of Ice and Fire.
Okay.
Game of Thrones. He uses a very old computer that runs DOS text processor like WordPerfect or something like that to write his scripts.
I knew that actually.
Can I make an obvious joke?
Yeah.
Well, you already started, so.
Is that why his books take forever to get published and written? And
No, but I think he addressed that question too many times for us to even deal with it, for us to even talk about Game of Thrones. Who cares? The show made everything bad. So, that being said, the games that I'm referring to were the games that you would run and play in an MS-DOS-like environment.
Yeah.
Where all you do is type. And the best thing about these games is they provide more or less the same vibe, at least to me, that you get when you're playing like Dungeons and Dragons with friends or something like that. You have to envision a lot of things, like when you're reading a book.
Okay.
So, to give you an example, you would start the game and you would get a textual description of the environment that you're in right now, and you would get options where to move, right? So you would say something like move to the bar, and then you have options there, order a drink, talk to the barkeeper, bartender, I don't know, take a look at the surroundings, and you would input textual commands and progress through the game. That, these things exist even today.
Yeah, of course. And the old adventure games.
They are super fun. Super adventure game. And there's so many genres, right, that you could fit into that, because it boils down to, people's imagination. Those are the kind of old games that I simply adore.
Yeah, of course. I always liked those old adventure games. In the time before internet, you would play those games. I played it on Commodore 64, and then I had to have a English dictionary next to myself to translate some words, and also to input some commands. And
remind me, what was Commodore the one where you had the gun that you were able to point at?
No, it's also some kind of console, I think, which came with the gun. I remember
also Commodore, and I remember Amiga.
Yeah, Amiga was also one of the hardly affordable things. I remember reading that magazine World of Computers when I was young, and then playing like those, how do you say it, like those games that you could win Amiga, but I was never pulled out from the hat, unfortunately.
Yeah, but back then the concept of personal computer was not the same as it is today.
Oh yeah.
And it was super expensive, and it was I remember we had technology in general in our house because my father worked with technology. But I think if it wasn't the case, we probably would never have had a like, for example, the Spectrum or
Mhm.
and eventually Pentium computers, which were the pinnacle of my childhood gaming career.
Oh yeah.
You could play Fallout. That's something.
Well, since I couldn't afford Amiga computer after a couple of years, but still pretty early for our region, I got my first PC computer. And then when I started Prince of Persia for the first time, I was mind blown.
Oh, yes.
Ga-
Now that you're mentioning it, Prince of Persia, like the most epic game ever. That was such a game changer.
Guys, I had such a phobia from that skeleton on the third level, like
Oh,
the
yeah,
sounds
yeah.
that he would make, which are like simply xylophone sounds, nothing more scary than that. But man, did he scare me. Oh man.
Did you have like bad dreams about those
Cutters.
like and vibrating floor that just wait, you're waiting for it to just drop down and there's like spikes.
No, but at my current workplace, we have to use these special cards in order to enter the building. And there are these two sliding doors that slide left and right when you check the card. And they reminded me of those razor cutters from the Prince of Persia. And I mentioned that to our IT guy at one point, and he says, "Oh God, they remind you of them too."
Nice.
Yeah, I think
go to the IT guy.
I think I remember all the like high points, or how they say, distinguishing features in Prince. Okay, in first level you get the sword. Then there's a workaround that you can even lure guards to follow you and then go through the secret passage and pass the first level without fight. Then on the second level, I think you can, for the first time, get extra life. Then
Okay.
on the third level, there is a skeleton, and also those what you just said, like that thing that cuts you in half. And also there was one place where you should just jump to the right. You should somehow figure out that there will be a platform to the right. Then on the fourth,
I remember that one.
On the fourth level, there is a mirror for the first time. Then
what does the mirror do? What does the mirror do?
Yeah, you jump through it from the running position, and your like mirror image comes out.
I remember. And it flies in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
And you meet it later.
Yeah. Well, then
you guys know that people still play Prince of Persia and for example Super Mario Kart, Pac-Man. These things are people play this today.
Oh man, I was such a Mario fan when I was little. Still.
Yeah, who wasn't?
No, I was really a fan. Like for my 9th birthday, my parents ordered me a 3D cake of Mario, which was practically a rarity then. Or basically,
you spoiled little brat.
Yeah, and
you got a Mario cake.
Yeah,
I never got a cake in any particular shape.
Well, just God loves me more. So anyway,
obviously,
and when there was a time to cut the cake, man, it was like they were cutting my voodoo doll. I was trying so hard to contain the tears. Okay, and what happened next is one of the craziest things you'll probably hear about me. I convinced my parents to save Mario's head in the fridge.
For how long?
Where it remained for at least 3 to 5 years, at least. And my dad would pluck the head because, when he got sugar cravings, he would pick pick a part of Mario and turn it in such a way that I couldn't see that it was hollow from the other side. My father would practically lobotomize Super Mario, and and my cousin said that Mario was so long in the fridge that he became Luigi.
You with your ridiculous stories and ridiculous things you always do. You safe keep his cake head in the fridge for 3 years. That is ridiculous.
You know, like you have those serial, well, not necessarily serial killers, but when people, kill someone out of passion and they keep like their body in a freezer. I sort of understand.
Why are we going there?
Yeah,
Why are we
sort
going
of
there?
understand that mentality. But I would also say that I'm just saying that instead of murdering someone, you can do it with a cake.
I apologize to our guest.
No, I was just waiting for you not to interrupt. I was just thinking that Boyan had some more noble cause for keeping Mario in fridge, like keeping him in cryogenesis until they find a cure or something for him.
To restore him to his previous state.
Yeah.
Ridiculous.
Yeah, I think I first heard about Mario in that, I'm not sure where, maybe in that movie.
Oh no.
Where at the end of the movie they are playing like some tournament and one of the games is some Mario game, I can't remember which one. Or maybe I saw it for the first time from friend's Game Boy. He brought it into local park and then we were all playing like, switching who will play next and then you get a chance to play Game Boy. Yeah, and that's when I played
another thing,
finished Mario
Another
game.
thing I couldn't afford.
Sorry?
Another thing I couldn't afford.
Yeah.
Oh.
Game Boy. That was also super expensive. But I remember commercials for Game Boy. Something like play and win.
Oh, yes, I could leave that because I had it.
Of course, because you were a spoiled
brat.
We
Okay, fine.
That. You got a Mario-shaped cake.
Okay.
For your birthday.
Okay, first a couple of notes. First, that movie is called Wizard.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I know it because it had Mario in it.
And the main character is that boy who was pretty popular in those kids' movies back then.
Yeah. Who wasn't home alone.
Yeah.
Yeah. And second of all, at the time, my uncle was dating this woman. She was a lawyer and she would travel to Germany very often. And because we were under sanctions, that was the reason why none of us could practically afford any console. But this woman would bring me, for example, a Game Boy cartridges. Once she brought me a Nintendo, like NES, like old Nintendo, not Super Nintendo, with 3 games. I think it was Super Mario Bros. 1, 2, 3. And later on, she brought me 10 additional cartridges with a golden cartridge of Legend of Zelda.
Well, why? Why did you get all those things?
Because I'm going to hell. Of course, it's not fair because I'm going to hell and I might as well enjoy my time here. Okay. And why do
I don't think it's a jokeable subject, but what I am gonna say is, why didn't I get all the cool stuff? I had people coming from abroad and they used to give me candy. You got a freaking Game Boy. Legend of Zelda Golden Catcher. What? And your uncle was dating that woman?
Yeah.
Where's the connection? Why are you even important in that relationship?
I don't know.
That's ridiculous.
Now that I talk about it, I'm like, I don't know why, but I'm so thankful for that woman. I pray for her to this day.
Yeah, we're talking about retro gaming and retro picking on women.
Yeah,
like lady, if you're listening to this, I don't get it.
Vesna, if you're listening to this, I don't get it, but thank you so much. You have made one child very happy. Until that child learned of existence of Meridian 59, and that became the next holy grail that I could not reach, and I'll tell you, I never reached it. Stupid Meridian 59.
Yeah, I also remember when
is.
the first time I saw Zelda game, I didn't know it was Zelda until recently. It was handheld game, and it was pretty cool because it had 2 screens. And it's
yeah,
the
yeah.
most awesome thing, because all the other handheld games I played before were pretty simple, and this one was like with inventory and various levels, like some kind of an arcade adventure game. So it was pretty
Wait,
good.
was this Game Boy or?
No, handheld game, like you
No,
know,
it was
like those old
custom made for that.
LCD black and white
Yeah.
games. Yeah.
Yeah, I had one. It wasn't Zelda game, but I had like a handheld where it was like tennis, okay?
Mhm.
And you would be playing against the computer, and you would have like two buttons, one for left and one for right, and you would have four positions, right? And you would like jump left to right to like hit the ball. I think I played that until I destroyed it. And it was really, really, I played it for years. It was like the simplest possible game. I'm wondering if kids today who play, things like Minecraft, or what's that?
Fortnite.
What's that? Fortnite, yeah, Fortnite, PUBG, and I don't know, these super fancy multiplayer real time games with fancy graphics. Do they even have, like, did they ever even see what a handheld game looks like, even on online, like on a photo or something, let alone actually experience that?
Well, I watched a video of two teenagers trying to operate a rotary phone, and no, they don't know how old games were.
Yeah.
So
Everybody watched that, and there's actually a YouTube channel which I can try to find where they get teenagers, young people, to react on things like songs,
yeah.
fashion, and they also gather older people, elderly, to comment on things that are modern today for young people.
Yeah. Like they get to like 40-year-olds. Yeah.
Yeah, but I love those videos because you really see how things have changed.
Oh yeah.
Like how things have changed greatly. Like, for example, we belong to a generation that listened to music with a Walkman.
Oh yeah. Oh man.
For all you millennials out there listening, a Walkman is like an MP3 player.
Oh, okay. Okay. Are you joking? Because I can tell.
Why?
Like an MP3 player, really?
Well, how would you describe it?
Well, you basically said like, hey kids, like a clepsydra, that is like the sundial that you guys use.
Yeah, now you must
Well,
explain what clepsydra is to
Like
those kids.
yeah, and then a sundial, because they don't know what a sundial is either.
Yeah, but they know what an MP3 player is because it's
Oh,
still
my
being sold.
sweet summer child. Maybe it's sold here, but not at places where people who listen to us do, I think.
Sweet summer child. Your vocabulary should be canceled. at least on Wednesdays.
Oh, my sweet cancelled child.
Well, I don't know about
God.
old phones. Maybe there is some website which has simulations of rotary phones. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But there is a website for all those handheld games, and they are displayed with all, actually as the whole device with bezels and everything, and then it's playable as well. So I found many handheld games which I played and forgot about them in that on that website. I don't know the the address at the moment, but it exists.
It's probably a Bandonia or similar sites, like where you can download really old games and generally have instructions how to install them on modern systems.
No, it's actually you can play everything online. You don't have to download anything.
That's handy.
Yeah.
But by the way,
handy.
That's quite handheldy. Okay, Ogri. Tell us, what are your favorite old VGA games before 2000s?
My favorite video games are before 1990s. Most of the games, my favorite games, come from Commodore computer.
Okay.
But there are too many to count. I can just now name and never finish with this.
Top 27. Top 27.
I don't know. Blue Max, River Ride, Forbidden Forest, because I never knew back then how to properly spell games. Fourth Apocalypse, Aztec Challenge. I don't know.
I literally heard of no games that you mentioned, like none of them.
Yeah, it's
me too.
A very hard question. Let's try to get more how do you say
games.
Concrete on some topic. There are too many games just to talk about them.
Yeah, I just saw a video of gameplay for Forbidden Forest.
Yeah,
and yeah, it's definitely an oldie.
It's done by a single man. His name is Paul Norman. I think he's a genius in making games. A couple of games he made are so great, and if you play them today, you will, well, maybe it's just me, but you will still have a great time playing them.
Oh yeah. I was about to ask that. Are there any really old games that you think are perfectly playable today?
Yeah, sure. Of course. Actually, on the forum, the magazine I write for, we had competition in Commodore games until recently.
Okay.
It lasted for a couple of years, so we had a great time playing those.
An example?
Wizard of War, for example.
Wizards of War.
Wizard of War, and war is not like a war, like a battle, but WOR. So I don't know what is it, but
war.
Yeah.
Okay, that one will be really hard to find if that difference isn't emphasized in a conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said it was like a tournament.
Yeah, it's just like a couple of guys visiting forum. We organized it and played like everyone was playing from their home, not actually having a tournament, but putting up the high scores.
So
finally some use of high scores, because I never played to get score back then. I was just playing to beat the game, but now finally there's a purpose of high score.
I don't think I've ever actually played a game because of a score. Maybe for achievements, but score never.
Yeah, maybe adventure games like those, not just textual. Maybe early Sierra and games like that where you had graphic, but still you typed commands, but you had the score, so you could maybe try to find some Easter eggs or some hidden stuff to get the score.
Did you know that recently there was, when I say recently, I'm talking about the last couple of days, there was a Fortnite tournament.
Okay.
And the first place went to a teenager who won how much?
$3 million.
$3 million. Okay, we all know that.
$3 million. That's more than Novak Djokovic got on whatever tournament. Yeah, the tennis player.
Oh, is this a 3D tennis?
No, it's a handheld.
Okay.
It's actually textual.
Oh man, textual tennis. That sounds extra painful. But imagine those parents, that kid that you have been nagging for the longest time, and probably for a very good reason, has cashed in $3 million.
Yeah, I wish.
That's a lot of money. But also the second place was like almost $1 million or something.
Oh no. Poor Chiron.
Yeah, it's also a teenage boy.
Yeah, I think he's 16-year-old.
Yeah, so that being said, if all these had, tournament budgets like that, I would hop on. But playing these modern games with these kids, it's a lost cause. I remember like my favorite game ever, like forever, ever, is Fallout 2.
Oh yeah. It oozes with atmosphere.
Yeah, it's like they used to describe it. By the way, they used to describe it like that in your magazine back in the day.
Yeah.
The World of Computers, like a non-linear game, meaning you can basically play it as many times as you want, and every time is going to be different, based on what kind of character you start with, what kind of stats you have,
what choices you make.
It's such a round, minus the bugs and stuff, which is expected, especially for a game with that kind of complexity in storytelling. But it was such a well-rounded game. It's I've played it for like 10 plus times, and I'm definitely gonna play it more as I grow older. But I have no idea what I wanted to say except that I love Fallout 2.
I'm the same with Dark Omen. Man, I think I can quote
Mhm.
verbatim all the characters, everything that they
Yeah.
say between missions, in missions, and
Yeah.
it is such a fun game. Like,
Yeah,
and
I can do that with Fallout. I could literally
yeah.
walk you through the game.
Okay.
You know, like I could story tell the entire game to just like easily, and you would be like, "Did you write this game?"
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what? Actually, when I what I wanted to say was when I meant, you know, I mentioned multiplayer and how kids today play games differently. There was such a thing made by some Russians called Fallout Online, where
Mhm.
they took basically the Fallout 2 engine, let's call it like that, or platform, whatever, and turned it into an MMO.
Oh, okay.
No. That was my reaction at first, but then I created an account and tried to play it,
And
and
disappointment.
bunch of bullies, you know, bunch of bullies who don't have a life, and then just, you know, their life comes down to hunting down noobs and killing them.
Actually, you have essentially entered the Fallout Hunger Games.
Yeah, I don't know, but I was so disappointed. Like you know, it makes no sense.
In my experience, literally every time somebody tampers with a different game, the result is always disappointing. That was the case with all of the Heroes of Might and Magic games. That was the case with any other games. Or like there are these fan modifications to Dark Omen, but you know, if you color a zombie purple, it makes for a really unconvincing new unit. You know. So
Yeah. Heroes of Might and Magic are a good example.
Oh, especially that.
Yeah.
Especially that.
Yeah, I don't like modern games. Among other things, is because of modding. So
yeah,
in the end,
yeah.
everyone is playing different game. Well, depending on the mods they install. So
Well, honestly, it can be a lot of fun. You know, it can be a lot of fun if you know how to mod a game and you can introduce like a special flair to it. I think that's good. You know, there's a lot of games that people play which have serious mods, you know, that almost become games for themselves. Of course, it's hard for authors of these mods to follow the original thread of the game as it updates, right?
Yeah.
And that might be what you're referring to. You know, you download a game, you want to play something, you've seen some cool gameplay, and then you realize you have to go through a very painful process, which is never documented well enough to install and maintain a mod, etc., etc. I mean, I get what you're saying. It could be very, very frustrating.
Well,
but it could add additional.
Sorry, I was talking more about when you discuss a game with someone. I think it's good to have like the same. If you're playing different mods, you're not talking about the same game. For the sake of discussion, you need to play the same game, and maybe after you complete the game and everything, then you can maybe have fun with modding. But I don't know, for the sake of having the same experience playing the game, you should.
Yeah, but it's not like there's rules there, you know. It's you know, games are entertainment in its purest form. And that being said, you know, you at least when it comes to gaming, you can enjoy any game you want in any form you want. You know, for example, I still play from time to time. I can't say I have that much time for it, but I still play Heroes of Might and Magic 3.
Everybody does.
Yeah, to date, it's, you know, it's a great game, and I love to play it with other people. But for example, I use something called HD mod, you know, that basically makes the game playable on a bigger screen and just takes care of some bugs and things like that. You know, and it is a different game when you look at it. It looks much better than the original, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, if it's only the graphics which are updated, it's maybe like watching the movie in, you know, like, I don't know, DivX against full HD quality. But what I'm saying
that's correct.
But what I'm saying is, I have a feeling with when you have different, significantly different mods, it's like you are watching, I don't know, one person is watching I don't know, original movie, and the other one is watching some kind of uncut movie with different ending. So it's basically different
for
experience.
Japan, for Japanese people.
For Japan. In my opinion, modding is essentially the fan fiction of video games and should be treated in the same way. Like, it's great if it helps the fluidity of the game. For example, in Skyrim, the inventory system is absolutely atrocious, and if there is a mod to improve it, that's great. But if you if you put Elsa armor in the game, no, ditch it, cut it off, amputate it. It's not. It's desecrating. It's desecrating the game.
It doesn't have to be like that.
I want an Elsa armor.
The thing is, the mod that I mentioned, it's called HD mod, right?
Yeah.
But there's something called HD Plus, which goes a bit beyond just fixing graphics and bugs.
Okay.
It doesn't introduce new things like new units and different path finding or stuff like that, but it does give some tweaks that really make the game 10 times more playable. And the thing is, for example, from your lack of reaction on that, I'm going to guess that if you're playing Heroes of Might and Magic 3, you're not using this mod. Because if you were using it, you would know what I'm talking about. A lot of people I recommend this to are like, no, I ain't changing the original game. Even though it doesn't change it, it makes it so much more playable and enjoyable, but people are just reluctant to try it because they like the vanilla experience, which is, by the way, terrible on modern screen. The resolution is ridiculous.
Oh yeah.
And when you apply the mod, at least you get brushed up graphics and clean UI, and you get better resolution, and you can tweak it. You can tweak it to basically match your needs. So one downside, especially with people who are like adamant at playing the vanilla, let's call it like that, you can't run HD Plus mode on your end and play with them, when they're not running it. Mm-hmm. So it's a bit of an issue. But let's leave my gaming issues. Like I'm a gamer. My gaming issues aside, I'd like to see myself enjoying games even in a later age, even though I find it more and more difficult to find time for it. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, it's always that. It's lack of time, nothing else. There are still a lot of great games nowadays. I remember spending a lot of hours on, it's already been a couple of years last time I did it, but still, I'm sure you can find dates which you can get hooked to and play for hours or all night and everything.
Yeah, sure. But for example, modern games, I really find it hard to even try.
There are some really great ones, and they usually fall within the category of indie games,
Yeah. I would try an indie game just because I know, anything other than mainstream just brings, unique quality to it. That's a fact, because that mainstream companies, game producers, game companies, they roll out things that are commercially most viable. From time to time, they will have Blob, for example, when they launched Diablo or something for mobile platforms. From time to time, somebody will let the engineers run the show and do what they want, and not listen to marketing, or the marketing got drunk. But the point is, they're all businesses for profit, and they all force monetization in every possible way. Virtual currency, in-game currency, and then you have people mining virtual in-game currency for other people, selling things online. It's ridiculous.
Microtransactions.
In-game economy is the worst thing ever, as far as I'm concerned, in terms of it gets people so hooked on games and makes the game itself, the gaming experience, completely irrelevant.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I wonder, I never played so much multiplayer games. I wonder if you play a lot, can you earn some significant amount of money by selling those items that you
Yeah.
find?
Yeah,
Yes,
you can. You can.
You definitely can. I
Hmm.
mean, World of Warcraft is probably the most popular MMO game ever. Since I think I'm not even sure when it started, but I have so many people I know who have sold their
Souls.
account. No, no, they've sold their accounts. We're talking like upwards of 500 or 1,000 euros for the account,
Hmm.
and you can imagine, when you look at it at scale, what kind of money we're talking about.
Oh, I have to share a quick story. A quick story. A friend of mine has a friend of his and he's got really hooked on World of Warcraft. So
Everybody has multiple friends like that who
yeah,
have also multiple friends like that.
yeah. And this friend of his, I don't know how much gaming hours he has spent on World of Warcraft or money, but for Serbia, as regards to money, it was some extreme amount. Maybe even like 2,000, 3,000 euros or more. And I don't know how much time he has spent, but maybe half of a year in total, something like something totally insane. So my friend meets him, and he's like, "Oh, where are you, buddy? Haven't seen you in a long time." "Oh, don't ask. I was in a hospital." "Really? Why?" "Well, I was, rehabilitating." "Oh, really? Congratulations! I'm so glad you got help." "What? What do you mean?" "Well, rehabilitation. I know you had a problem. Problem with what?" "Well, with the video game. I know how much you played it." "No, man, I broke a leg. I said I was on a rehabilitation, as in I couldn't play in the hospital."
Oh dear
Oh
God.
yeah, like a total miscommunication. But yeah, Ognjen, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I can't remember what I wanted to say.
Oh no, don't tell me that. No, that's the worst.
Yeah, you and your stories, B.
Well,
You and your
the
stories.
point is that the story wasn't worth it.
Yeah, I wish I could monetize all the time I spent on computer games.
You can with YouTube, like literally.
But
Well, not the time you've
it
spent.
requires more time to earn in that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're not ready to play the long game.
Yeah.
And good thing that the niche isn't oversaturated.
Yeah, I mean the most subscribed to YouTuber ever.
Yeah.
He basically started by playing games and still plays them up to date.
Yeah, but from time to time, and I'm so glad that he ditched them because I find him far more interesting outside of the video games, even if I don't mind with him playing from time to time.
You actually watch him?
I think that he's someone I constantly subscribe and unsubscribe to. Like,
Yeah,
I don't.
think many people are in that position when it comes to PewDiePie.
Yeah, because I don't care about meme reviews, but when he does Pew News, I love him. He's so funny. He's Gloria Boga and so on. I love him in that. But when he does meme reviews, I don't care much for that. And because he posts so often, my feed gets swamped, and I'm like on the endless cycle of subscriptions and unsubscriptions. But I like him a lot.
Yeah, considering that you're the only YouTube personality in this conversation, can I refer to you as YouTube personality?
No, until I get 1 million.
Oh, so that's where you're going.
1 million what?
So
like followers or like dollars or
don't say
Yes,
followers.
yes.
No, because
Euros.
he's gonna make a cult. He's like he has this. If
Credits.
somebody's gonna make a cult, kidding, definitely not.
Well, subscribers, but I would sacrifice my subscribers for $1 million. Remove this in editing.
Yeah, I remember we played that game a lot of times when we were kids. What would you do for $1 million?
What would you do for $1 million? Oh, maybe this should be a separate podcast. Oh no, it's gone.
Oh yeah, the title of the podcast. What would you do? ...
I think that the age of the person would show depending on how much you would put it in savings.
LOL. Well, look, let's be realistic. Nobody's gonna give you $1 million. So.
Well, they say, don't ask me how I got first $1 million.
No, that's reserved for billionaires. No. Ask me about anything except the first million.
Yeah, something like that.
You guys know the story about Kylie Jenner?
Maybe.
Is the
Her first
podcast platform going to sanction us because?
No.
Oh, okay. That's not the trans person.
That's what's his name?
Identifies as a woman.
Yeah.
That's the new vocabulary for that. Okay.
I can't remember its name, but I so hope I'm not getting really offensive here. Anyway, Kylie Jenner. I think she was she part of Kardashians? Doesn't matter. Anyway, she's this celebrity, and she was on her path to become the world's youngest billionaire. Guess what her fans did?
Yeah, they donated to the cause.
To the cause. Can you imagine that, Em? Do you believe in that? Oh.
Yeah, I believe it, of course.
I'll tell you this.
Not many things can surprise me.
I was at work one day, and I got a message on Slack, which is basically a communication application. I got a message via Slack from a colleague of mine. Back then I was in a 30+ people company, and it was a link to a Kickstarter campaign, and the Kickstarter was it was this, let's call it device or contraption, whatever. It's like this little, imagine like a playing dice.
Okay.
That size, a bit bigger maybe. Okay. And on each side it had a button or something you can fiddle with. Okay. Right? Like the ultimate fiddler. They went for $30,000. They got $2 million in like 5 days.
You're talking about Fidget Cube.
Yeah, okay. Fidget Cube. That's what I'm talking about. Fidget Cube.
Okay,
the world's most ridiculous, absolutely unnecessary thing got over-financed multiple tens of times on Kickstarter, because that's people for you.
Okay, I'm literally drinking my emergency chemotherapy right now. Like what? Like you know what? I have to give a shout out to our first episode. And people will complain because people invested $100 million in Notre Dame that burned down, but $2 million for a fidget cube and donating to Kylie Jenner. Come on.
In a couple of days. We're talking about money in a couple of days from a huge amount of people.
Okay, I have to admit, it looks kind of cute. The fidget cube.
You googled it.
Googled it. Maybe they should have put Notre Dame to Firestarter Kickstarter.
Firestarter. That's a good one. You know what? Extra points to you.
But I'm serious. They would gather much, probably more money than in this way.
I think they had quite a successful Firestarter campaign for Notre Dame. I think they reached the goal.
I know what song is gonna end this podcast.
Yeah. I'll let you surprise us.
That being said, I think we are closing to an end of our today's or tonight's episode.
Yes,
depends on where you're at.
Sorry, before you end this podcast, and since we were talking about retro gaming, at least for a while, I want to tell something which might sound like a sorcery, and that Commodore computer, you loaded the games from tapes. Like you had a data set, and you connect to computer, and then you load it pressing play, and then that tape will not rewind, but it will play, and then the game will load. And since that's like magnetic tape and all those electromagnetic waves and are in place and stuff, actually here in our country you could record the game from radio. There was one guy here. Yeah, there was one guy here who was one of the leading guys in science, computers, IT in that period, and on his show well, there were no podcasts back then, but on his radio show, he would actually play the game, not playing, but
emit the waves
of the game through the radio device, and you would record on your dataset the game from the radio, and then you could play it afterwards.
Okay, I have just read a tweet that sort of rang crazy like this, like, in the old times, internet would come through the phone and it would sound horrible, like robots screeching. Okay, Grandpa, drink your pills. Oggy, this is your crazy grandpa story for your grandkids.
The thing is, by doing so, broadcasting the tone that was used to load the game, he was obviously in violation of somebody's, license or something. But as we've learned since the beginning of the episode, in Serbia, it's nothing new.
It's free economy.
Yeah, it's the Serbian 100% discount on anything.
Torrents of our time.
Yeah, torrents of our time. The torrents of our past.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
pirate radio broadcast.
I think we just got 3 titles for an episode.
Nobody understands what you tried to say.
Well, because we name our episodes, we need a name for these episodes, and we just got 3 cool names.
Which are
torrents of our times. I mean, it wouldn't.
That's not gonna work.
The point is that it sounds strange and enigmatic. Of course, it doesn't.
Oh my God.
It doesn't reflect the theme of the podcast, but who cares?
No, this is when somebody who's used to writing clickbait, the titles for their videos, starts making up titles for the podcast.
I did what with my cat?
No, but it's like she said something and then he saw something and then this happened. Uppercase.
Oh man.
Reminds me of our newspaper portals.
It's everybody. It's all the portals today,
Yeah, unfortunately. Clickbait, bait, clickbait. But also ads, bait, clickbait, ads.
Yeah.
Nope.
Okay. Ogre, thank you for joining us.
Okay, Boki, thank you for the invitation.
My apologies for B's behavior and pronouncing your name like that. I really, if it's cool.
Thank you for letting me outside of the basement, master.
Yeah, okay, guys, thanks. Thanks for calling me.
Oh man, this was the mother of awkward silences.
No, it's just my microphone just, went, Kidding. Thank you.
Bye, guys.
Okay, bye.
Bye-o.
Bye.